Hey guys, my name is Shai and this is Evermind Taroscopes. Although this particular video is not a Taroscope video, it is a video about the Gemini North Node, and this is also for people with their North Node in the third house, because Gemini rules the third house, so it's the same type of vibe. I have a special relationship with the Gemini North Node, guys, because my husband is a Gemini North Node and I'm a Gemini Moon, so I think about this particular aspect a lot. And please, I hope you take this the right way. The Gemini North Node is essentially your lessons in coming down off of bullshit mountain. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. So Gemini North Node, the Gemini is all about reality, what is real, and it is about thinking about what is real, and it is about communicating on the human level, right? Gemini is the mind, it is the generation of thoughts, it is your immediate environment, it is reality, right? If you're Gemini North Node, then you have Sagittarius South Node. Same thing if you're Gemini, or if you're North Node in the third house and ninth house South Node, right? The ninth house is also like bullshit mountain. So I don't mean to be shitting on Sagittarius energy here. Sagittarius energy is beautiful and amazing and fantastic. And I'm going to be talking about all of the best parts of Sagittarius energy when I do the Sagittarius North Node. But in this particular video, we need to know about the low frequencies of Sagittarius, right? What does Sagittarius energy look like when it has become unbalanced, when it has gotten overwrought, when it has become just too much of it, right? What does that look like? And I call it bullshit mountain. That's what I call it. That's what I call it all the time in my head. And I'm going to roll with that in this video because I think you'll kind of know what I mean. So the Sagittarius bullshit mountain is so these are some of the low vibe frequencies of Sagittarius that you're going to be learning to let go of in this life. So Sagittarius bullshit mountain is being the ivory tower, being the academic ivory tower, right? Sagittarius is can be very academic. It can be very academic. That's one of its faces. Being in the ivory tower, above it all, thinking you're better than it all, thinking that I don't want to get involved in that schmuck down there. I want to be up here. I want to be above it all. Sitting in judgment, right? Sagittarius can literally sit in judgment, because if you think that in the tarot, the major arcana, the judgment card represents Sagittarius. So sitting in judgment of others, also sitting in judgment of the self. Sagittarius is also, like in its low vibes here, this is always wanting to escape, never wanting to be part of reality, always wanting to be somewhere else, always wanting to eject yourself from reality. And it can also be like massive problems in communication, like Gemini North Node, third house North Node. You guys need to learn to communicate on a human level, like to actually communicate your thoughts to others with your words. So this is the struggle, right? This is the struggle. Sagittarius South Node, you're probably really good at communicating in certain ways that are unique to you. You might even be incredibly good with language. Like my husband is Gemini North Node. He's incredibly verbal, has a huge vocabulary, speaks really well on his feet. You look at him and you go, that is a guy who's really good at communicating. And yet he struggles to communicate like on a way that he finds satisfying. He finds all throughout his life that he tries to communicate and then people misunderstand him, even though he feels like he used all the right words. So there's this like disconnect. There's this thing he doesn't understand. Well, why is my communication always going wrong? So there's going to be a huge theme in your life of like how you use language, how you communicate using your verbal ability, how you articulate your thoughts, and all of that. There's something I want to try and specify here about the Sagittarius South Node energy, the part of it that you're gonna have to let go of and that you might not want to. Look around in the physical, in the reality, right? In the physical reality. But Gemini is not so much like physical reality. Like physical reality is more like Taurus, right? But the Gemini, it's like what is just real. Like what is real when you look around, when you go out into the world. When you walk down the street, especially if you walk down the street in a city, like what do you see? What are people doing? What are people building? What are people thinking? What are people creating, right? That's Gemini energy. Catching the vibe on a city street. Catching the vibe on a city street, that is Gemini energy, right? That is very much Gemini energy. With the Sagittarius South Node, there can be this resistance to immersing yourself in your human reality. In your human reality, that's what I'm going to call it, in the human reality. Sagittarius South Node can go like, oh, I don't want to go into that neighborhood. I don't want to go into that part of town. Or I don't want to go to that area, right? Or I don't want to hang out with those kind of people because there can be this feeling of like, I don't want to participate in that, right? I don't want to participate in that. That's not for me. Maybe deep down inside, if you're super honest with yourself, you might feel like that's below me. But this might even be because you came from there, right? You might, like, if in your life, if you were like, if you experienced poverty as a child, you might find yourself as an adult doing everything in your power to get above that, right? To get above that, to elevate yourself. Because Sagittarius South Node, you want to elevate yourself out of the unpleasant reality. You don't want to participate in the human reality because the human reality is messy. And the human reality includes things like poverty and homelessness and addictions, right? That's all included. And so the Sagittarius South Node, you could feel triggered by that and you want to be out of that. You want to escape that. You want to be up out of that. So with the Sagittarius South Node, you could be constantly looping these patterns of I need to escape this. I need to escape this. I need to rise above this. I need to get away from this. I don't want to immerse myself in this reality. I don't want to immerse myself in this reality. I want to escape the reality. That's why I call the Gemini North Node coming down off of bullshit mountain, because the Sagittarius South Node, it can really like have all of this energy of building up a mountain underneath you so that you can escape. It's like you're going to build your own mountain so that you can stand on it, so that you can stand above. Because whatever is down there in the human reality, you don't want to be a part of it for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason that is for you. Something about the human reality you don't want to be a part of. So your Gemini North Node is going to take you down a peg. This is one of the North Nodes that take you down a peg. And I can really relate to that because there are, it's about half, I would say half and half. Half of the North Nodes are get your shit together and rise up. The other half of the North Nodes are chill the fuck out and get comfortable with being down here in the mud, right? And Gemini is one of these, get down here and be real, right? Get down here and be real. Chill out and be real. Chill out and be real. So Gemini North Node can play out in many ways. Because it's interesting, with the Gemini Sagittarius axis, you have on the one hand the academic expression of it, which is like, you know, Sagittarius being like the professor, right? The professor of knowledge, being like an archaeologist, an anthropologist, a psychologist, you know, a historian, that type of stuff, right? And then on the Gemini level, it's like communicating, like being a writer, being a news anchor, like communicating stuff that is real, right? So there's the communication and academic level to it, but then there's also like the travel and reality aspect to it. Because, you know, really common thing with 9th house and Sagittarius energy is to like be a traveler, to be a world traveler, to be traveling through all of the various cultures and places in the world. And Gemini, like, so Sagittarius likes to roam. Sagittarius likes to move. Sagittarius likes to travel. So that's your South Node. But your North Node, Gemini is to actually stay put and like get really local. Like Gemini is like hyper local. Like Gemini is your neighborhood. Okay, Gemini is your neighborhood. Gemini is like where you're at. So it's really interesting with this entire axis to keep in mind that this is like both things. There's the intellectual aspect of it, and then there's like the human aspect of it, if you can kind of get what I mean, right? There's these two different ways, and maybe one of them plays out for you way more. There's kind of two options here. That's interesting, the way that that's interesting about this nodal axis. So anyway, your Gemini North Node is going to get you to confront your human reality and learn. It's like first you confront the reality and then you learn to communicate with it. So your life could put you in very interesting situations where with the Gemini North Node, first of all, you could have to stop moving around, right? Your soul wants to travel, your soul wants to escape, your soul wants to explore. Sagittarius South Node, Gemini North Node is like, you're going to stay put. You're going to stop moving. You got to get planted here. So it's like maybe you want to be a world traveler. Instead, you find that you're stuck in one town, but maybe you find yourself traveling around that town like a lot and becoming really familiar with like everything in the town, right? Everything in the town. You travel around the town, you talk to all the locals, you get to know all the locals, you get to know everybody in that town, you become almost like a local expert. Gemini, local expert. Local, like becoming really familiar with what is right around you, right? The local expert. depending on the house placement, right? This could really play out with you being planted in a community that is very different from the one where you came from, right? Having to learn to fit in with people who are very different from you. And maybe at first you go, I don't know how to relate to these people. I don't know how to understand these people. They have nothing in common with me. I just kind of want to get above them, right? Because I don't know how, because it's like fears of relationships, fears of interconnecting. You don't know how to interact with them. So you have this reaction to just escape from it. And so your Gemini North Node journey is going to stop you from engaging in the escape. So that's a little bit of a struggle here. This can be very triggering for the Gemini North Node. You can feel like life is trapping you. You can feel like life is railroading you. You can feel like life is forcing you to confront things you just don't want to confront. I can say that about all of the North Nodes, but it very specifically plays it with this Gemini North Node of being like stuck and still in this immediate environment. But then you find, oh wow, I can do all of the things I want to do. I can explore everything I want to explore. It's all right here. This is like the energy of being a hometown tourist. And then what you need to do is learn how to articulate yourself using your words. So this could be very interesting depending on like what house it is in for you, or if you're watching this because you have a third house North Node and you have like a water sign. If you're like a Pisces North Node in the third house, that's going to be really challenging because you're going to have to figure out how to like express your emotions using your words to the people in your immediate environment. And if you have like a Pisces North Node, how are you going to express the enormity of your Piscean emotions and intuitions? How are you going to translate that into words? It's going to be a huge challenge. So some of these combinations and some of these placements are going to be more challenging than others. If you're lucky, you have like the Gemini North Node in the 7th house, and then your challenge is to express your thoughts to your partner. Which that could be a huge challenge, right? But that's at least air sign to air sign, and it's kind of just like dealing with a couple of people. So there's different ways for this to go. So you kind of have to fit this into how this goes for you. But how are you going to use your words? How are you going to use your words? And are you willing to be linguistically flexible? Are you willing to be linguistically flexible? This is why I say coming down off of the bullshit mountain, because Sagittarius Sagittarius energy is so interesting. It can in its lower frequency permutations, and when we have a South Node, we're talking about releasing the lower frequencies of this energy, right? So these lower frequencies of Sagittarius are relevant for you in that Sagittarius can become like really uncompromising. It can be like, this is the right way. I have decided that this is the right way, and this is how I'm going to do it. And this is how it is, right? And that can make you inflexible with how you relate to others. So as you face your Gemini North Node, you might find yourself going, this is the way I speak, and I'm not going to change the way I speak just so that you can understand me. This could be like, maybe you have a very sophisticated way of speaking. Sagittarius South Node could be very, very like intellectually intelligent, right? You could have a very sophisticated upper crust way of speaking, and maybe now you find yourself with people who have a completely different background from you. They have completely different life experiences, and maybe they don't even know half the words that you use. Maybe they're speaking a completely different dialect, or maybe they're actually speaking a different language, right? Maybe they're speaking a completely different language, and you need to actually learn a new language. But that applies even if we're talking about like the same human language. Even if this is all playing out in English for you, you might need to adjust the way you speak, even the way you use your body language, right? But especially with your words. Gemini is so much about words. Adjust the way you speak so that people can understand you. And this is like, at some point you'll have to kind of look in the mirror and realize, if everyone I talk to misunderstands me, it's not always their fault. Maybe there's something I can do so that I can be understood better. And that could be really triggering for you, because for you, Sagittarius South Node, up in the ivory tower, you could feel like you shouldn't have to change. You shouldn't have to change the way you speak. And you shouldn't have to change the way you speak. This is the way you speak, and you shouldn't have to talk down to people. That could be this feeling of, I shouldn't have to talk down to people. I shouldn't have to edit the way I speak. People should just understand me. People should just understand me, is the feeling here. So this can be like, Gemini North Node could have a whole series of lessons in life where you're constantly being misunderstood, especially when you use your words, and it just feels like no one ever gets what you're saying. No one ever gets what you're saying, why you constantly having these miscommunication problems, and it can feel like I can't build any bridges with these people. I don't know how to make these connections here. So your North Node, you're going to have success and everything is going to change for you when you allow your kind of edges to soften, and when you kind of go, okay, I'm going to meet these people in the middle and go, okay, I am going to get really pragmatic. Gemini is very pragmatic energy. Like, I'm going to use the words that work. I'm going to communicate in the way that is most clear. I'm going to speak clearly and simply. I am going to keep articulating myself until people get what I'm saying, right? And constantly allowing yourself to become linguistically flexible, right? So use words that work. Use words that are practical. Speak in a way that others can understand. And here's the thing, and in doing so, you're going to start to realize that the way they communicate and the language that they use and the way that they are is exactly equal to you, right? Those feelings that you had that you're probably kind of embarrassed to admit, right? Maybe you don't even like to admit this to yourself. And this is the thing about that everyone is like this with everyone's South Node, no matter what the South Node is. You probably don't even want to admit them to yourself, right? But if you're really honest with yourself, deep, deep, deep down inside, you're probably kind of aware that sometimes you're up on bullshit mountain. Sometimes you do feel a little bit arrogant. Sometimes you do have feelings of, aren't I just kind of like above this, right? But as you engage the Gemini North Node and you really get immersed in your immediate environment, wherever your life has put you, right, you're going to really understand. And this is when you know you're getting it. This is when you know you're coming into balance. This is when you know you are really solidifying your North Node journey. When you have this moment of, oh, we're all the same. We're all the same. I talk this way, they talk that way. It's all the same. I think this way, they think that way. It's all the same. We're all equal. And then you just kind of understand. It's like, wow. It's not about right and wrong. It's not about good and bad. It's not about better or worse. It's not about richer or poorer. It's not about more educated or less educated. It's not about more advanced or less advanced. Those are all judgments that Sagittarius can make in its low frequency vibes, right? In Sagittarius, high frequency vibes, all of this is put together and alchemized and transmuted and transcended. How do you get to that point, right? How do you get from low frequency Sag to high frequency Sag? You go to your Gemini North Node. You realize that everything that is human is the same. Everything that is real is equal. And then that kicks the feedback loop, and that all goes back over to your Sagittarius South Node. And then Sagittarius South Node truly becomes the sage, right? Truly becomes the sage. And that's when you go, oh, now I've integrated everything. And then Sagittarius is that thing where it does the inner alchemy, right? Takes it all up inside of itself, does the inner alchemy, and then turns lead into gold. So how do you turn lead into gold? How do you get the highest frequency of your Sagittarius South Node? It's by exploring your Gemini North Node and confronting everything that is real and learning that everything that is real is the same. Everything that is real, everything that is human is equal. And then your Sagittarius South Node takes it all, turns it into gold. So that's how you go on the spiral path, right? You can see what I'm writing these, because it's a spiral path. You start down here in the low frequencies of Sagittarius, you go up here to higher frequencies of Gemini, and then you end back up higher frequency of Sagittarius. So it's this beautiful spiral path, right? Beautiful spiral path of this North Node. And, I feel like with the Gemini North Node, other people can really look at your life struggles and go, why is this a problem for you? And other people can judge you for the things you struggle with, because you're essentially struggling with human reality. You're essentially struggling with communication, and you're essentially struggling with your immediate environment. So these are things that a lot of other people with different types of placements, right? Different types of challenges, they just don't understand. They don't understand why you have a struggle with these things. So it's important for you to also give yourself a break and go, okay, this is really my challenge. This is really my struggle. And that's okay, right? You don't have to judge yourself, because the Sagittarius South Node, you could be sitting massively in judgment on yourself. And that's the thing actually with the Sagittarius South Node. Sometimes if you're hard on others, you're like even harder on yourself, right? You're way harder on yourself. So to practice like it's not even really self-forgiveness, although it is that, but it's also like just learning to relax, learning to chill out, and learning to, like, whatever you thought before, whatever you did before, it's all fine, because it's all just human and it's all just real, right? And everything that is real and that is human is just the same. And it's all getting turned into gold, because your Sagittarius energy will take all of this bullshit and turn it into gold, right? Turn it into gold. So that's what you're doing with your beautiful Gemini North Node journey. So I think that's it for you guys. Make sure to watch your other video, right? Because all of these videos, you want to watch the video for your North Node sign and your North Node house. And if you want to connect with me more deeply, you can check out my original channel, where I do more esoteric, spiritual type of content, tarot readings, and channeling for lightworkers and starseeds. I'd love to see you there if you're finding me for the first time on these North Node videos. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.